Google has made all of these grand plans to eliminate third-party cookies from their Chrome browser. Chrome obviously has the vast majority of the market share in terms of browsers. And they announced last year they would be eliminating third-party cookies, which basically are things like bits of script that get put on your machine, and they're able to enable people to track you as you visit various websites across the web. And this is something that most browsers have actually already eliminated, and Chrome was really the last one to kind of come along and say, yeah, we love privacy too. Well, it turns out they don't. It's been pushed back by nearly 2 years, this plan to actually eliminate these things that all these other browsers have already eliminated. So it's kind of, it's not surprising. I'm going to throw this straight to Ben. I know you have a lot of thoughts on what's going on here. So fill us in and maybe some of the backstory as well of all this.
I mean, yeah, the sugar in these cookies is your sweet, sweet PIP data, right? Like that's used for ad tech targeting. So, wow, I mean, there's a lot going on here. I think it's really interesting. I don't know. I personally am fascinated by these kind of dynamics. So yeah, FLoC was like Google trying to get at a more privacy, yet still could do ad targeting sort of way. FLoC basically, as opposed to taking your individual browser sort of histories and browsing behavior and stuff and feeding that to advertisers, kind of put it in like a big aggregate pot with a lot of our other people. So while, they couldn't target you individually, they could say, I want this demographic who might be looking at this and is doing this, and rather than being a little bit more targeted, it would be a little bit broader. That being said, there's been a lot of pushback on this for a variety of reasons. One is which ad tech companies don't particularly like it. Two, the idea being that this doesn't make browsing more private. This just makes Google be able to be the one feeding you ads and kind of, coalesces more their already monopoly they have over the ad tech industry in a lot of ways, which I think is actually where this kind of stems from. Not only are some like Chromium-based browsers not adopting this, like Brave and DuckDuckGo have actively disabled it from their systems and said they wouldn't. This has also brought a lot of antitrust scrutiny because of that pushback, because of this being their sort of cementing of their market share around this. And so I think that might be a little bit more the 2-year pushback, is they don't want that heat right now, than sort of sorting this tech out, in a more general way, because this is not an issue that's going away. It's going to be incredibly thorny. And I think that, for better or for worse, Google's in a position where whatever they do, I don't know that it's going to be, met with applause from all sides. And I also, I could nerd on this for a long time, because also they talk about federated learning, and that's not what this is. That is a separate thing. But I'm going to stop talking for a little bit. And Will, I see you smiling. Take it away.
Yeah, and Jen also had her hand up as well.
Sorry, Jen, go.
Okay, I was just going to say, I see both sides of the coin on this. I want to read a quote from the article. They said, unlike cookies, users cannot clear their fingerprint and therefore cannot control how their information is collected or used. Therefore, they want to take more time to look at, other alternatives that users are going to be able to have more control over instead of digital fingerprinting. And so while I see that argument, I think we also have to look at Safari and Brave and all these other browsers we're talking about. They're not advertising companies, and Google is. So they're incentivized to collect this data. They can compare themselves to all of these other browsers, and then they have the next 2 years to collect this data. And I don't know. I see their argument, but then I also feel like there's a lot going on behind the scenes that they're not telling us. So I'm a little bit skeptical. And again, I feel like there's just no solution here. It's a sad, sad day for privacy.
No, there's absolutely a solution, Jen. And also fingerprinting and this federated learning, what they're calling federated learning, which is different, is actually different to fingerprinting. So they're saying that if we force people into this FLoC system, then you're going to have these advertisers go under the radar, try to do fingerprinting as a way of tracking people instead. Look at what Brave is doing right now. They're awesome. They're saying, hey, let's do this federated learning thing, but let's have all the data stored locally on the individual's computer. So none of it is passing through the server. You don't get that monopoly of information or that wonderful treasure trove of data that Google wants to collect. I mean, it doesn't make sense for me that Google is saying, well, we've got to hold back because, fingerprinting's so bad, we want to protect consumers. That's such bollocks. They could be doing something similar to what Brave is doing and storing that on the individual. Sorry, Jen.
Is there a way? I was going to say, totally agree with you, but is there a way for users to erase their fingerprint?
No, there isn't. But you can change around parameters that you're using. Like you can, change up, like clear your data, change the fonts, change the size, like you can play around with that, delete plugins. It's very difficult though. Like your fingerprint kind of does follow you. But Will, I saw your hand go up. I'll throw that to you.
Yeah, just to put the other side of the market in perspective, it was interesting to see Opera today announce an integration of some stable coins. So there is the ability to start integrating better and newer tech, but I think Google's just dragging its feet because it's incentivized not to.